It's time for Twig, episode 83 coming up. I'm back, baby. Gina and Jeff and I will talk about the latest news from Google, the creepiness of IBM's Watson, and what it might portend for the future, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. Twig is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT. Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 83, recorded February 23rd, 2011. The Uncanny Valley. This Week in Google is brought to you by Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and management that's simple. For 10% off your new domain, go to twig.hover.com. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free 14-day trial, go to squarespace.com/twig. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google and the Cloud. Joining us are Google Clouders, starting with, of course, Gina Trapani from Lifehacker and her own site now, smarterware.org, and the great Think Up, right?
Think Up.
Think
yes.
Up.
Hey, it's so great to have you back, Leo.
Thank you, Gina.
Looking very tan and thin and refreshed.
I had so much fun. It was really nice to get a little vacation. Thanks to Becky and Tom for filling in while I was gone. I appreciate it.
They were fantastic.
Good.
I said to them, I
Great.
want all of you at the same time, not just, piecemeal.
Well, that's a good idea. In fact, I believe, I'll tell you about that in a second. I believe we will all be together again. And it won't be in rock and roll heaven. It'll be sooner than that. But first, let me say hi to Jeff Jarvis of BuzzMachine.com. He's a professor of journalism at the City University of New York and the author of a fine book called What Would Google Do? Hey, how's public parts coming?
I'm 1/3 of the way through editing the manuscript. We're fighting over the subtitle now. I'll ask you about it later.
Oh, good.
Candidates.
We can do a poll.
We could, yes.
You know why?
Yes.
Because when I was in Buenos Aires, I had a lunch after that event. I had another lunch with a bunch of people. And one of them, Mariano Wexler, was an entrepreneur who created a Twitter thing called Pollowers, P-O-L-L, Pollowers. And I used it yesterday. It's an enclosed beta. It's so cool. It lets you do polls on Twitter.
Very cool.
Wow.
So if you want help, we can do a little poll.
I'll do a real quick reading, okay? We'll get the chat room.
Okay.
So public parts is the title. Subtitle, candidates. 1, public parts and expose. 2, if we're so
slightly
worried
dirty.
about privacy, why do we share a billion times a day?
Ooh, okay.
3, privacy and fear, openness and opportunity. 4, what happens when companies, governments, and individuals let it all hang out?
I like that.
And 5, the private self, the public sphere, and principles for a new society. Chat.
I won't say anything.
No, do.
Yeah,
no, what do you say? Say what?
I have a strong opinion.
Which one?
That what happens when governments and let it all hang out. I like that
You agree with the publisher, Gina?
Yeah, that one's pretty provocative. I like the one privacy and fears and publicness and opportunity.
Okay. Yesterday, the editor and I were going for the billion times a day, but okay. All right, good. We thought it was Private Parts and Expose was a Twitter title.
Mm-hmm.
It's clever. It probably doesn't.
Too short.
Very clever, yes. So, all right.
Yeah, the billion times a day, why do we share a billion times a day? That one's pretty provocative, too. I like that one.
Yeah, but
As
remember, this is all about selling books.
Yeah.
And
Well, you agree with the publisher, the boss man at Simon & Schuster, like the one you like, Leo, and I was pissy about it last night.
Well, I mean, it doesn't.
No,
look,
I think no, that's what I'm saying.
My first book, Gina Smith and I, who wrote it, wanted to call it "How Do I Get the Dog Hair Out of the Disk Drive," and the publisher chose the completely mundane 101 computer answers you need to know.
Yep.
So the
That'll do it.
Yeah, that'll kill a book. But and somebody once told me with our former program director at Tech TV said you can be clever in a title or you can communicate what it's about. But I think it's nice in a book to know what it's about.
I kind of already have a joke with public parts.
Yeah, public parts is great. And then the subtitle says really what it's about.
Yeah.
which is how what does it say it again?
That one is. Oops. Where'd it go?
Sorry, it was something like how governments and the public.
It's what happens when companies, governments, and people let it all hang out.
I love that.
Yeah, that is good.
That says that's what the book is
Well,
about.
you're bringing me around. All right.
We could do actually, it's too long for a poll on Twitter. I don't think I can get that all in 140 letters.
Free consultation here, yes.
Twitter polls really have to be fairly succinct. Anyway, I miss you guys. It's great to see you again. Yeah, it's so good to be back.
Tom, by the way, have you heard this before? I'd never heard it before. He does a mean Leo imitation.
No.
Yeah, he does.
No.
He does. I think we have to have, at South by Southwest, I think we have to have a Leo off.
You're kidding me.
What? Do a blind test.
+1.
Who's Leo?
Oh, Eileen, you knew about this and didn't tell me. I want to hear it. I'm going back in time, and it's all recorded. That's good. Well, he should. He's very, he's a talented guy. I really think Tom is so great. What a stellar addition to the network he has been.
He's a natural. The guy never says It's amazing.
Yeah, he's really.
I've never heard him say
talented.
that come out of his mouth.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom, for filling in. I really appreciate it. And you mentioned South by Southwest. That's where we will all be together again. Is Becky? I think Becky's going to be there. We're doing a TWiT at Momo's. If you go to inside.twit.tv, that's our company blog. Eileen's put up all the information you need to know about South by Southwest. We did TWiT there last year with you two and a bunch of others, and I think we're going to have a very how big is the current cast? It's fairly large, I believe. But we're going to do it from Momo's, which is a nice little club in Austin. Not right on 6th. How far off of 6th is it? It's like a mile? Cabot, probably. We're going to be Sunday, March 13th. I'm going to do the radio show at 1. Tom will do his show TNT at 4. And then we're doing TWiT at 5. And we'll do a meetup after TWiT. And I'll be there, Tom will be there, Sarah, Brian Brushwood, and we hope you two will also be part of it.
You bet. Wouldn't miss it. Highlight.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yay.
Yay.
You'll have to kick us off stage. You'll have to shove us off.
Well, I don't think there'll be a large enough crowd for me to throw you into the crowd for crowd surfing.
Crowd surfing.
If there is, the challenge will be on. See if you can do a longer live crowd surf than I did last year.
I think that just goes down in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think they will never be duplicated.
I was so happy I was there for that moment. It was the greatest moment ever at South by Southwest.
It was a lot of.
When you went down, did you at that moment kind of say, "Oh crap, what have I just done"?
No, I was ignorant. I found out later that it's actually dangerous. That the crowd dropped Meatloaf once, and he broke his elbow. And there are a couple of instances of, performers jumping into the crowd and being dropped. But in me, I don't know if I've said this on the air. I hope I'm not repeating myself, but as I get old, I find I do often. But for me, there was a great metaphor there because my whole career has been buoyed, supported by this great community that we have around us. And this was a kind of a very visceral, real experience of me jumping, leap of faith out into this crowd and them carrying me gently along.
Wow,
it was really
deep.
amazing. See? I'm not such a...
I hadn't thought about the deep philosophical meaning on that. That is something. Okay.
Oh, I was thinking as I'm going, I was thinking, wow, this is a metaphor for my entire career.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful. Hey, quickly, I didn't see it because I was on a boat. But a couple of things happened while I was on a boat. Egypt, revolution. Big,
Yeah.
Facebook started it. Google started it, I guess. A Google executive started it on Facebook. Twitter powered it. And IBM beat Ken Jennings on Jeopardy. I'm not sure which is more important, to be honest with you. No, I do know which is more important. But we've talked a lot about the amazing, I'm sure you did last week and the week before, about the amazing role of social media and Google specifically in the Egyptian revolution. But we have not talked yet about Watson. I didn't see it, but boy, that's a pretty amazing thing. Let's play a little bit of Jeopardy, shall we?
In quotation marks. What to wear? U.S. Geographic nicknames.
This is a double Jeopardy round.
Magical Moustery Tour. And finally,
So Watson is a computer created by IBM.
Let's do familiar sayings for 1200.
If you're one of these capable fellows, you're unfortunately master of none. Brad.
What is a jack of all trades?
Yeah.
1600
He beat
familiar
Watson.
sayings.
Watson's
A
kind
camel
of stoic.
is a horse designed by this. Ken.
What's a committee?
Good.
Familiar sayings for 2000.
It's a poor workman.
It's kind of fun because they're showing Watson thinking.
Watson,
What are tools?
you are right for 2000.
That's creepy!
For 1600.
Dave
Some would say it
Eggers
sounds like
not so
Zuckerberg.
modestly titled his memoir, A Heartbreaking
No, he's
Work
more
of
eloquent and
This.
fluid.
Watson?
What is staggering genius?
That's right.
Same category, 1200.
Answer, Daily Double.
Oh, do you not think this is creepy? I mean, it's awe-inspiring and creepy.
I'll wager $2,127.
By the way, you know that's exactly the right amount to wager, right? Who would even come up with that?
New Yorker's 1959
Actually, they didn't
review
talk about
of-
his algorithm for coming up with daily double
I
bets.
want that too.
Okay, the New Yorker's 1959 review. Let's play Jeopardy. I'd like to remind you, you need to state your answer as a question. The New Yorker's 1959 review of this said in its brevity and clarity, it is unlike most such manuals, a book as well as a tool. Jeff Jarvis.
Strunken White.
That's what I would have said. You agree, Gina?
What is?
Oh, by the way, Watson would not forget to do that.
Oh,
So we're going to say, what is elements of style? Let's see.
Said in its brevity and clarity, it is unlike most such manuals, a book as well as a tool.
Let's try. What is Dorothy Parker?
Oh!
Ooh, no. The work was the elements of style.
Only
Like
10%.
10% confidence. on that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I love the confidence readings. I love the buzzer threshold. You know, he had a certain threshold where you'd only buzz if he had an answer. I mean, not on that one because it was a daily double, but I loved it. It was fascinating. The first 5 minutes, I was kind of creeped out, but then it was just cool to see, you know, and to kind of think about the different circumstances. Like, Watson got all the answers in text, right? But Trebek was reading them aloud. So that made me wonder, you know, at what point does Watson get the text, right? Because listening is to speech is slower than, you know, reading text, especially for a computer. So I kept thinking about things like that because there was actually a buzzer that Watson pressed. You know, there was a mechanism, there was a physical mechanism that mashed down on a buzzer, just like the humans. And it wasn't connected to the internet, right? Because a human playing Jeopardy has a limited set of, it had a huge database. And actually, the room where the Watson system was filled, you know, with really loud refrigerators. You know, I think it was like 50 blade servers, you know, connected via Ethernet, and then there's just like, you know, this really loud cooling system. But I loved it. It was really, really cool. Like Ken Jennings said that he welcomes our new computer overlords. I kind of feel the same way.
I love you, Ken. That's a
Well, it
really
goes
good
back to-
geeky answer.
Yes.
Listen, if we saw Google, if we'd never seen search engines, we'd never seen the internet, and suddenly you saw Google fully birthed, you'd think it's creepy,
Yeah.
right?
Ray
Oh my
Kurzweil
God.
wrote an article last month in PC Magazine, Why IBM's Jeopardy Victory Matters. He said when he wrote his book, The Age of Intelligent Machines in the 1980s, he predicted that a computer would win the World Chess Championship by 1998. He said I was a year off. It was 1997 that IBM's computer, Deep Blue, beat Garry Kasparov. He said what happened immediately was, of course, humans started rationalizing. Well, the chess is a completely analytical game. There's a correct answer at all points. It's blah, 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 blah. He says, no, this is significant. And he said what was most significant was that Watson had a sense of humor, or at least appeared to. Did you notice that? Gina, did you notice a little sense of humor? For instance, Ken Jennings selects the Chicks Dig Me category. He's making a joke when because he says, I've never said this on TV, chicks dig me. Ken Jennings. He's a human. He made a joke. Later on, Watson says, let's finish Chicks Dig Me, and gets a laugh. Now, probably inadvertent, right?
Yeah. Because there was no speech recognition. Like, Watson couldn't hear.
Right.
Here's a question, dumb question, but that's the kind I always ask you to.
Ask the dumb one, because believe me.
Is Watson AI? Is it artificial intelligence, or is it just, what is artificial intelligence?
Well, AI is kind of a deprecated term these days. People who
I know it is, right.
I mean, it's probably a big decision tree. It's what, looking at those confidence readings, that's exactly what a chess computer is doing. As it's an analyst. I don't know, Gina, is it AI?
I mean, it's natural language processing, right? So it's just this giant terabytes of data, and like you just look at things like word frequency, and I think that some of the scientists talked about how they try to identify the nouns and the adjectives and the verbs inside the answer, and then, I mean, I don't know that it's AI. I would say more natural language processing, but it really had to, because it's Jeopardy, it really had to understand things like references and jokes. I mean, that was what was so cool about it. A lot of geeks I saw felt like this was this, unnecessary display, for regular people. I thought it was it was great PR for IBM, and I think it was an awesome display of what you can do when you have the data, what computers can do when you have the data. If a computer is going to help me diagnose symptoms over a course of years that doctors can't, then hey, I want to go to Watson for my diagnosis.
Well, it would have been done better than my exactly. I was feeding doctors when I had an arterial thing, my falling apart body, and I would feed them symptoms, and they wouldn't listen to the symptoms. They would just jump to their own conclusion. And I wanted Gregory House, MD, as an algorithm. I wanted Watson as a doctor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
By the way, I really want to plug my good friend Stephen Baker, who's the author of Final Jeopardy, the full story of Watson and Jeopardy, now on sale. And he's ex-Business Week writer, and he did a really interesting thing where he wrote the whole book up to the last chapter.
Because he didn't know how it would end
without it.
Yeah.
And then get the last chapter immediately. And Stephen is great, and I look forward to seeing his book. So Stephen Baker, Final Jeopardy.
I also owe an apology to everybody who's listening who hasn't yet seen the show, although I don't know why you wouldn't have seen the show. It was more than a week ago. But apparently, and I've learned this, by the way, after talking about this before the show, on the radio show, that Jeopardy fans take this game very, very, very seriously. And I got a lot of people saying, Leo, I hate you. I was looking forward to this. You spoiled it by talking about the result. I had no idea. I thought it was a TV game show.
Nobody for Jeopardy cruise.
Nobody complains that Wheel of Fortune, you said who was going to win. But Jeopardy's a little different, I guess. What Ray comes down to is he said he has a bet with Mitch Kapor that a computer will pass the Turing test, the very famous test of, it's complicated, but I could boil it down to simply, is a computer indistinguishable from a human to a third party who's not in the know? And Ray Kurzweil said 2029, absolutely, and bet 10 grand. Kapor said no way. Kapor, of course, the creator of Lotus 123, knows a little bit about computer software, as does Ray Kurzweil, who is one of the premier artificial intelligence researchers in the world.
What do you guys think?
Well, I just will say that Ray considers this victory by Watson absolute proof that it's going to happen, and it probably happens sooner than 2029. Because, come on, after all, it might have been hard to tell that was a computer.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it helped that he would change color. He would go orange when he got things wrong, so it looked like he was embarrassed. And the fact that he had a male voice and that Trebek was, kind of referred to him as a he, that part creeped me out at first. I mean, I know we call boats she and that kind of thing, but I was kind of like, it's a computer. Let's refer to it as an it.
Well, but that's the key in the Turing test is that you anthropomorphize, right?
Right.
And the Turing test is, can you do it successfully? Right. It doesn't have any rules like, you're not allowed to turn color or call it a he.
Well, interesting, Leo, if you go to Gina's point about data, the problem in trying to create the Turing algorithm before was you didn't have enough data. Now the web is filled with conversations. And if the Turing test is to have a conversation and believe that it's a human being, the data set of conversations now is incredible.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah. It'll speak like Twitter. It'll say, lol, man, but...
That's not so bad.
No.
The conclusion of the article, Ray Kurzweil says, what will be the significance of a computer passing the Turing test? If it is really a properly designed test, it will mean that this AI is truly operating at human levels. Now, I had a debate with Ray saying, but it's not human, right? I mean, it's not... So what, that it can fool you into thinking human, that's not the same as human. And Ray said, but does it matter? No, it's not human. But does it matter if it's indistinguishable from human? He says, I, for one, would then regard it as human. I'm expecting this to happen within 2 decades, and I also expect when it does, observers will continue to find things wrong with it. By the time the controversy dies down and it becomes unambiguous, as it is now, by the way, that computers play better chess, it's going to be pretty unambiguous pretty soon that computers will beat everybody at Jeopardy. If it beats Ken Jennings, who's never been beaten, okay, it beat the world champion at Jeopardy, right? He says, by the time the controversy dies down, it becomes unambiguous that non-biological intelligence is equal to biological human intelligence, then AIs will already be thousands of times smarter than us. But keep in mind, this is not an alien invasion from Mars. This is another argument I had with Ray. Well, that's the Terminator. I mean, they're just going to wipe us out.
Yeah.
He says,
because we're inferior.
Right. He says, no. We're creating these technologies to extend our reach. The fact that farmers in China can access all of human knowledge with devices they carry in their pockets is a testament to the fact that we are doing this already. Ultimately, we will vastly extend and expand our own intelligence by merging with these tools of our own creation. He told me, they won't kill us. We're their daddy. They will revere us.
That worked really well on Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Hey, I created you. Stop it. What do you think? Ray believes we're very near what he calls a singularity. By the way, we're going to talk to Ray Kurzweil in 2 weeks, and this will absolutely be one of the topics on our triangulation show.
I'll be tuning into that.
He's
Sounds very interesting.
And you know, if you read his book, The Singularity is Near, or The Age of Intelligent Machines, or The Age of Spiritual Machines, all of which kind of in one way or another deal with this, it's pretty convincing. He's the guy who also said, I just want to live long enough to live forever, because he believes if he can survive 20 years, he'll be able to pour his brain into a machine and he never die. That's kind of a simplification of it. So do you fear this, Gina?
I don't. I look forward to this.
You're a programmer.
I guess so. Someone in the chat room is asking, would you hire Watson as a lawyer or maybe an accountant?
You bet. You
Absolutely.
bet. Definitely as an accountant.
Definitely as an accountant. If the goal is make me pay the fewest amount of taxes possible, definitely Watson would do better than my accountant. Sorry to my accountant. But no, you know, this kind of thing just makes me really happy to be alive at this point in the world.
We may see an amazing thing. You will see it in your lifetime, Gina. I don't know if Jeff and I will make it. It's really touch and go.
Especially me.
Are you falling apart, Jeff?
I'm falling apart. I'm a mess.
Is this something new?
No, nothing new this time. But it's it's every few. I'm going for a hat trick soon.
Oh, jeez. No, hang in there, Jeff.
Yeah.
You just have to live long enough to live forever.
I will pour me into the computer now.
Yeah.
I figure
we need to make Jeff a note on the network. That's all. That's once we do that.
We could be doing this show well into the 30th century. Wouldn't that be funny?
It's time for Twig.
Hello.
Number 4,676.
What is Elements of Style? See, I knew that.
I hope this doesn't come off as flip because I mean it. The first person to pour into the computer is Steve Jobs.
No kidding. And it may be, I hope it won't be too late, but yeah, you're right. He will. God, I'm praying for him because he's so important to this revolution that we're in the middle of.
Yes.
You know who will be the first person, by the way, just so you know? Mark Zuckerberg.
Just
so you know.
Everybody at that dinner with Obama last week, right?
Yeah.
Want in the jar?
Yeah. Larry, Sergey, Mark, and Steve.
Yeah.
Sounds like a rock group.
It's not a bad world. It's not a bad.
No, absolutely. Mark Zuckerberg is right on track. He's
young
enough. He's rich enough. Yeah. And gosh darn it, people like him.
When I interviewed Zuckerberg, my editor hated this line, but I argued with him, and I'll keep it in, is he said, we're not in the technology business so much as we're in the sociology business.
Yeah, well, he's right.
And he is. I mean, he's human engineering. He's engineering society, and that's what's fascinating.
I actually said that on this show a year ago. I said, what Google needs to do is hire more sociologists and fewer computer scientists.
Yep.
Because the computer science problems are not intractable; they're not difficult, but the user interface, is a way of taking complexity and making it simple. All of that is very hard.
Well, it goes back to Facebook again. Yuri Milner, who's a major investor in Facebook now, has told me that his entire investment strategy is AI. That he believes that if you take the data that exists in a Facebook, or one presumes, I guess, Zynga as well, and you add AI to it, he says there's this giant leap that occurs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's that data set thing. The bigger
it's the bigger the data set, the more you can do with it.
Well, okay, who has the biggest data set right now?
Google, no doubt.
But Google's data set is about data. Facebook's data set is about people.
Well, that's true.
If you look at it another way and say, the way I ask it in the book is, who's the best signal generator of human signals?
Okay. That's probably a better measurement, huh?
Right? And
yeah, Facebook has more structured data and people-centric data, right?
Yeah, for now. But I think it could change. Google, that's why, to my mind, that's why Android. And with Android, Google knows where we are, what we're looking for, what we want, where we're going, where we've been. Those are very, very important signals. Facebook knows who we know, what we like, what we talk about. And how you become the best signal generator and then the best analyst of those signals to become the best exploiter of those signals to give us relevance. And relevance, I saw The Guardian some time ago did some kind of random story generator, and it was an effort to get to serendipity. And I said, no, serendipity is not that. Serendipity is not randomness. It's relevance we didn't expect. Right? And so that's what both Google and Facebook want to be able to do is finally get the real Turing test is when they're a step ahead of us.
Right. That's what Eric was saying when he said, we'll know what you want before you.
Exactly. Exactly. In his book, the next book I should do is Eric Schmidt's Quotes That Get Me in Trouble.
It's a long book.
It's a long book. It's a good one. It writes itself. It's wonderful.
On the official Google blog last week, this post, an update to Google's social search. Today we're doing a little bit more to bring you all the goodness of Google plus the opinions of people you care about. They're incorporating more information from the people that matter to you, whether they're publishing on YouTube, Flickr, or on their own blog or website. So social search results are getting mixed in. Now, of course, they're presenting those to us. But if they're presenting this to us, it's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. You've got to think that 2/3 of this data is being mined within Google.
I was at a privacy conference in Victoria, BC last week, which is where I did the show from with bad Wi-Fi in the hotel room. And I gave a talk the next morning, and I got into a tussle with the head of privacy for BC when she said that Eric Schmidt said that privacy isn't relevant. I said, he never said that. But the thing that I asked everyone there to do was I said, the next time you hear the word creepy, which at conferences like that you hear it all the time, just stop and say, define that, please. Right? There's a time when we would have thought Google was creepy. There's a time when all kinds of things seemed creepy. TV seemed creepy. Creepy means unknown. So Watson being creepy, AI being creepy, Turing test being creepy, it's because we don't know it. We don't know what can be done with it. If we instead make it ours and control it, magnificent things can happen.
I'll define creepy in a way that maybe doesn't fit that. It's the uncanny valley. The animators have this phrase they use, the uncanny valley, where human mind is so adept at seeing a human face or hands or body that if you draw a cartoon, Elmer Fudd doesn't bother anybody. They know it's a cartoon. The brain says, yeah, it's a drawing. But as you move closer and closer to real humans, animated humans, there gets this place where you go called the uncanny valley, where it looks in every way real, but the brain knows it's not, and it's creepy, real creepy. That's what
until it starts to look real, right? Until we
it's just a temporary valley, I guess. Yeah.
It's temporary, right? It's temporary. It's temporary until we take control of it.
So you can cross the valley.
When we're in control of it, it's not creepy anymore.
Right. I mean, I think that's what creepy is for me, right? Like, I didn't know that you knew this about me, and then suddenly
that's creepy.
You did. And that creeped me out, right? Because my perception was that you were this far away, but it turns out you're standing right over my shoulder, and I didn't know. So that creeps me out, right? If someone sneaks up behind me. So, like with the social search that Google just launched, It's great. I love it. But the first time, it rolled out, I hadn't read the news story. I did a search for something that Adam Pash at Lifehacker, who I follow on Twitter and who I email with all the time, had written about on Lifehacker. So I do the search, and at the top of the search, it says, here's the result, and Adam recommends this, or Adam shared this. And I was like, oh, okay. And which was great because
I can get over that. I can get over that. That's not
like the first time it surprised me. So I kind of hovered over Adam and said, oh, you're connected to Adam on Twitter and in Gmail. Okay, I knew that. But it's that initial jarring, like, oh, I didn't know that you knew everybody that I followed on Twitter, even though that's public data. That's something I did over on Twitter. I think that's a little tiny example of a little creepy. That said, the social search results, now that I understand that Google has been crawling all, knows all my sort of my social graph, is fantastic. I love seeing names and faces next to links. Like, oh yes, this is what I want to click on.
Here's a graph from Wikipedia. Across the x-axis is human likeness. Across the y-axis is familiarity, and there's the uncanny valley. So, stuffed animal, fine. Humanoid robot, fine. Zombie, corpse, creepy. But I would submit there. So we have two kinds of creepy, two definitions of creepy. One, which you and Gina embrace, is that, well, it's technologically sophisticated, so it surprises us. But we can get used to that. Technological sophistication you can get used to.
Yes.
But I don't think you get used to a zombie. It's permanently creepy, isn't it?
Well, I never get used to David Copperfield.
Or who's that other magician who always goes like this?
Yeah.
So I think there's genuine creepiness. It's not merely that we're technologically, surprised.
I don't want this to get misquoted because I like the guy, I respect him, and I'm saying good things about them in the book. But I think that's part of why people don't get Zuckerberg.
He's genuinely creepy.
Here's why. And don't quote, folks. I'm not saying
he's a zombie.
I don't think he is. No, it's because you would think that he would be, of course, the most open person on earth. But in fact, the mystique of Mark Zuckerberg is that he's mysterious.
Right.
And the fact that he needed to be, and Aaron Sorkin and company tried to interpret him, and I would say badly still, though I know I'm about the only one who says that. That's where the creepiness comes from. Is we don't get him, we don't understand him. He's not like us.
Well, certainly as Jesse Eisenberg portrayed him in the soon-to-be Academy Award-winning movie The Social Network, Eisenberg clearly went for creepy, right? Kind of subhuman.
Yes.
I don't know. You've been with Mark. Is he really that creepy?
No, I mean he smiles.
He's human.
He smiles. He blinks. He actually blinks. I was remembering this as I was rewriting the chapter. My editor, who's by the way is very happy to see what you guys are saying about the title because his boss likes it. So
we win.
You're all winning.
I'm sorry, Jeff. You should have sent me an email saying, "Would you please?"
No. This is fun. No, this is good feedback. By the way, Gina, are you offended by it? Hangout? Let it all hang out?
No, not at all.
Too puerile, penile, or you're used to be now.
And that's the publisher's contention.
Yeah, it's okay.
Then it's probably the right choice because you can never be too penile or puerile.
So,
in fact, if you have the choice between penile, puerile, or both, I'd go for both.
Or what's the name of the hand thing? Purell? Penile,
Purell.
Oh, yes.
Well,
after your penile and Purell, you use Purell.
Jeez,
That's
Louise.
why I saved that. I'm sorry.
Maybe you shouldn't use that as a subtitle.
Stop. I'm telling myself stop. So I remember I thought back to when I saw Zuckerberg at various events at, pardon me for place dropping, Davos or the Quadrangle Conference or this Murdoch event where I was brought into. And in every one of those cases, he absolutely threw the business moguls, pardon me, light. I'm not dead.
Is your soul lighting your computer screen? Is that why it keeps getting dark?
Ooh, because I'm actually a zombie.
Oh, jeez. By the way, Night in Jail said, Leo, hang out with a zombie. Have a beer with one. You'd find them not creepy after a while. So maybe I'm wrong.
So Zuckerberg, what I loved about him on panels and stuff was that he never said a word more than he had to say. And he was blunt, politely blunt. Right? Somebody would ask a question, he would say, and it was like that one scene in the movie where he said, why do you say that? That's just what he was. He would just answer the question, and that's it, no more. And I loved the fact that he didn't add flowers and buzzwords and all that, that he just said what he thought, that was it, boom, done, now what? And it threw everybody for such a loop.
It's interesting because that was something that apparently Aaron Sorkin picked up on, because that's exactly how Aaron Sorkin wrote it.
That's the way it was. Well, so now he's either had media training, or I think more likely he is simply become more comfortable.
Relaxed.
I think he was scared.
Yeah,
he's relaxed.
Yeah.
So we get to see a little more of him now. And we, what's the real Zuckerberg? The zombie? Or this. And so, no, I think that he's not like that. I think that that's why he was like that, because he was scared. He was 19 years old, surrounded by mobiles.
He was a kid. Yeah.
Didn't know what to do. His father's a dentist who works alone. That's what it was.
It sounds like a line out of CSI. His father was a dentist who works alone. By the way, the Urban Dictionary has two germane, as long as we're going to use big words, germane definitions of creepy. Not Jackson. Somewhat scary because of strangeness, which is kind of what you guys are saying. It's just strange. Unfamiliar, but will become familiar. And then the third definition is by far the most common adjective predicated to quiet people who don't smile. Isn't that interesting? AKA the old Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. This is interesting. I think it's interesting. What is creepy? And is it merely just technologically new? Strangeness.
Well, the cloud is creepy.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people are creeped out by the cloud.
The fact that the cloud, I don't know what it is. People just draw this cloud thing. What's in it? Where is it? Where's your Earth?
Right.
That's creepy.
Where does my data go?
I came up with a new, so I can't remember who said it to me first, and I would give them credit if I could, but a great way to respond to people who say, I'm not going to trust my data to the cloud, and I include John C. Dvorak to this, is, well, okay, where's your money?
Right.
Is it in your mattress? No. Does it exist? No, it's in the cloud. You've been trusting your entire financial world to the cloud for your whole life. There's no vault with your money in it.
I have this vision now of Dvorak with a razor and a mattress.
If anybody would put his money in a mattress, it's John C. He might wish that, he was in Madrid and his passport and wallet got pickpocketed.
Oh, no.
Ow.
Oh, the
gold
grumpiest
bars.
man on earth. Oh, my Lord, he must have been.
It was karma. Because I think he was like lording it over people. You've never been to Europe? Well, I've been to Europe many times. Then he's the one who got pickpocketed. Anyway, we'll make sure. I have
no spam. I have no passport.
We'll make sure. John, I believe, is back now. And actually, we have a great video that John and Eileen shot in Madrid at the Ford Focus event. So we'll get that out soon. Meanwhile, let me take a little break and mention our friends at hover.com. Hover is domain name registration done right. Simply, clean. They don't upsell you. In fact, a lot of times on these other registrars, you say, all right, I'll buy that domain. Oh, it's cheap, $9.95. What a great deal. Oh, but by the way, you probably want privacy on this. You'd probably like this and that. And then they try to upsell you on 1,500 different things. By the time you're done, it's the most expensive domain name you've ever seen. Hover doesn't do that. Their domain name registration made simple. In fact, I'll give you an example. They build privacy right in. They know you want privacy, so they don't charge you for it. It comes with the territory. HOVER, as in cover. Hover.com. Actually, if you go to twig.hover.com, you can check it out and get a little deal. 10% off your domain registration. Couldn't be easier. Transfers are great, too. Now, some people say, well, wait a minute, the transfer is not free. Yeah, it's $10. But what the $10 does is get you an additional year on your existing domain registration. So it's actually a good deal. And they'll even do all the transfers for you. I transferred a bunch of domains, and I wish I'd taken advantage of this. If you click the transfer your domain for $25, no matter how many domains, 1 to 1,000, they will do it all for you. You call them. 866-731-6556, and they'll do the entire thing for you, all the niggly technical details of a transfer, which is a pain in the butt. Because they know that's the thing that's perhaps keeping you from moving to Hover, but you'll be glad you did. By the way, when you call that number and you get a representative, you will not be put on hold. They have a no-hold policy for customer service calls during business hours. And I like that, too. I can't tell you how much time I've spent on hold with those other guys. Hover.com for your new domain or transfer your old domain. It's the easiest, the best, the fastest, the cleanest, the most straightforward. Of course, they're Canadian. It has to be good. Did you notice that when you were in Victoria? They're nice people.
They are.
You run into a Canadian, he apologizes.
When I got into the fight with the speechwriter for the commissioner or governor general or whatever of privacy in British Columbia, and saying, you misquoted Eric Schmidt, you cited a log, and she, no. I said, no, you're full of crap. And she said, you're rude. And I said, I'm American.
You're rude. That's the worst it gets. No, I have to say, this is a division of Two Cows. It was called Domains Direct for a long time. It really is just a great service, and I love these guys.
Nice people.
Well, this came out of South by Southwest last year. Oh. Because Elliot, who's the CEO, came over, and we were having. Remember, we had that great meat dinner.
Yes,
so good. We're gonna do that again. By the way, Eileen,
my cardiologist still hates you.
No, it's good. You should eat more meat.
After your South American venture, I'll bet you're full of.
I lost 6 pounds on the cruise.
Really?
Eating meat.
Good for you, Leo.
Carbs. It was not eating carbs that did it for me. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Because I don't want to kill you, Jeff. So I'm not going to. I just want you to go to Twig.
Be the last to blow me over.
It would be so bad. It'd be like, oh yeah, I got this great diet. You just eat a lot of meat, and Jeff goes, and then.
I know we got to get pour his brain in the jar first.
Yeah. We got to get the jar. Then I'll tell you about the meat diet. Yeah, I ate a lot of good meat. Oh man, Buenos Aires. Oh, they got this thing called provolone, which is like fried cheese. It's so good.
Oh, man.
It comes in a little skillet. And then I had blutwurst, blood sausage, and chorizo. Now, I've had Mexican chorizo. This is not Mexican. This is incredible sausage. The food and the steaks. Oh, my God. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Hover.
Note to self, eat lunch before Twig.
Lunch before Twig. We made a Chipotle run. I should have asked you. Oh, rats. I can't. Skype doesn't support Chipotle transfer.
Seriously, we need the burrito shoot. From Petaluma straight down to San Diego.
Burrito shoot!
That's a great idea. You know what they should do at Chipotle is they should have pneumatic delivery. It's the product made for pneumatic delivery. Yeah.
It's a bullet. It's the bullet burrito. Come on.
Twig.hover.com.
Okay, we are heading off on every tangent possible.
I love the tangents. If you listen to the TWiT network, not when Tom and Becky, these guys are professionals.
On topic.
They keep it on track. They know what they're doing. They hit the clock. They're everything. They're perfect. They're wonderful people. And then I get back and it's like squirrels. So gingerbread, I'm keep looking at my Nexus S. Now, Gina, you were bemoaning the Nexus
During the
One.
commercial, I was checking my phone to see if the OTA on gingerbread had come through.
I knew you were doing that.
Not yet.
Not yet. 2.3.3. And even the Nexus S, which is using 2.2.2, should get an update.
Yep, and they said that it could take a few weeks to do the rollout, but someone in the forum said it's not really going to take a few weeks. It'll be in the next few days. We do it incrementally just in case there are problems. So as far as I know, no one's released an update.zip that you can just grab, although someone in the chat room can correct me. I'm trying to be a regular user and just waiting for the OTA update, but it also means that I'm the loser checking my phone every 5 minutes to see if I have.
But Gina, the reward,
update.
It's like the hamster with the button and the pellet.
Exactly. Give me the pellet.
It's just a great. There is perhaps for an Android user no better feeling than that little announcement that comes on the screen that says you have an update.
Yes, the little green robot guy. But the Honeycomb emulator or SDK is out, so I was temporarily distracted by that. I downloaded that this morning and took some screenshots.
So what'd you think?
It's the emulator's kind of slow, but that's just the emulator, and I had to fiddle with some settings and sped it up. Otherwise, really beautiful. I mean, the emulator, there are no apps installed at all. I mean, they have a few demos, but like Gmail and all the regular apps aren't installed. It's just kind of bare bones. But it's really cool. It's just a huge screen. It makes such a big difference.
Besides seeing the video wall,
yeah, because
part of this, I don't want to be jealous. No. So I'm not going to ever get it on my Galaxy tab.
No, I'm with you though, because that's eye candy. I want to know, is it?
That is eye candy.
Yeah.
What is it, Gina, that you think is the most actually valuable thing?
It's interesting that all the buttons are on the device itself. There's no key. The back button and the home button are all there. The time you can tap on the time and will pop up sort of a larger, kind of like, not that I want to say this, but kind of like Windows. And you just have a lot more space and you can flip between things. I mean, it's the bigger screen, stupid. It just makes a huge difference. But like I said, the emulator, there are no apps installed. Really, so I didn't get a chance to try Gmail, the Gmail app. That's closed source. That doesn't come out with the SDK. So I really didn't get a good chance to really experience what it's like. I really like the different panels, though, the action bar and the panel on the side. And I ran my own app and have lots of really exciting ideas about how to make it kind of more tablet friendly. So initial.
For one thing, this means that the manufacturers won't move the damn buttons around.
Right.
Yeah, but then we'll have duplicate buttons because we'll have hardware. I mean, I know the Zoom doesn't have buttons.
Right, and will others have buttons? I mean, it looks like all the buttons are on the screen. Like the emulator itself doesn't have the extra buttons, even the search button.
Really?
Well, although I imagine that maybe some of the other tablets will add the maybe search and home. But menu and back are
part of the advantage of Zoom is it's never upside down.
Right. Oh, that's probably a lot of it, isn't it? The orientation is independent of the hardware.
Which makes a lot of sense. It drives me nutty with mine.
Yeah, no, you're right on the Samsung because it's just once you turn it around, it's kind of, oh dear.
Yeah.
Right.
And this isn't a problem on the iPad so much because there's only one button.
Yeah, good point. Right, so that can be anywhere.
Right. I mean, you can't hit the wrong button if there's only one button.
I installed my app. It looked great. There's tons of white space, obviously, but it completely worked.
Oh, so it scales. You don't have to do anything special.
No, I didn't do anything special.
That's the beautiful thing.
It scaled it up. So there's just a lot of white space on the bottom.
Would there be a way, kind of an elastic, some sort of elastic layout that would kind of handle that better?
I think that what you can do is, as a developer, is that you can create panels, and if you're on the widescreen, both panels show on the screen at the same time. But if you're on the small, the small screen, you would have to tap an object to move over to the other panel.
Okay.
Yeah.
They got to make it easy for developers, though, to make it something that looks good, universal app of some kind.
Yep.
Boy, Gina, you shouldn't have turned down that movie offer that you got last year, because if you were going to the Oscars. As a nominee, you would have received a gold Zoom. Now, by the way, I got to be clear about this because Zoom is so generic. It's can we agree to say Zoom or something like that? It's the Motorola Zoom. It's a basic black for the general public, but they've got a gold one for Oscar hosts and nominees. It's part of the, you get a bag of stuff.
A tax bill.
Well, that's right. I was talking to Woz. When he did Dancing with the Stars, they gave him a basket of goodies worth $70. I hope I'm not betraying a confidence. Worth $75. I don't know. He didn't make me sign an NDA. $75,000. And he took it because he said we didn't know any better. So, thanks. And then they had to pay, like half of its taxes. You have to pay $30,000 for this $75,000 basket of goodies. Yeah. And he said it's a bunch of crap I didn't want. Bulgari perfume and stuff, and it's all retail.
Woz, you smell so elegant.
He said there were 3 good things in the whole bag. It was very expensive.
Just to clarify, chat room, I did not get a movie offer.
It
says so in Wikipedia. If it doesn't, I'll make sure it does.
I thought you were going to be the lawyer in Social Network.
Yeah. Oh, she would have been good.
She?
So much more believable.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you would have been so good.
How are you guys being my agents? Seriously.
Well, hey, Snoop Dogg got that commercial. Have you seen the Snoop Dogg for the 4G Indulge?
I haven't seen it yet.
All right,
I have not seen this yet.
Let's watch a commercial. I don't think they could sue us for playing their stupid commercial, can they?
They should pay you for playing it.
Yeah. I know we're going to get it from Jeopardy, though. I know Alex Trebek's going to say, "Oh, Leo, you made a horrible error." This is a little bit from that. A little bit from that ad. It's kind of like a dating
Last
game.
up is Snoop D-O-G, G, G, G.
I'm a rapper, an actor, a director, a Little League football coach, and a relationship therapist.
And the 4 Gs?
Lately, the speed of my hustle has increased exceptionally, and I've had to amp up my Gs to facilitate my needs.
Settle down now, girl. All right,
so
home viewers,
horrible.
when we come back, the lovely Brittany will be grilling each of our contestants who she's going to pick. Stay tuned. I get
So
it.
this is an ad that's done kind of like the dating game.
Consideration brought to you by Metro PCS and the Samsung Galaxy.
That, you know what that is? That's Homeless Announcer.
Oh, that's him, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that nice? He sounds good, too.
Indulge.
Indulge. So that was the Indulge ad. Man, that guy's going to get more work than Casey Kasem.
So he gets out of rehab.
Oh.
I don't know. I think he's...
Did something happen while I was gone?
Yeah.
Anyway, Eileen's got an Oscar. Are you're going to do that, right, Gina? Eileen's Oscar pool.
Oscar poll.
Oscar pool.
Oh, Oscar pool.
Well, send
Sure.
send them the thing. We got to get them in that.
Sure, I'm in.
Do you put money into that? That makes it an illegal gambling thing. No, yes, we put money into it. A lot of money into it. You could win thousands of
We
dollars.
just bet Zynga dollars, that's all.
Yeah. Bitcoin.
I won hay.
Flash is going to be, Adobe has announced in a little to Apple that Android 3 will come with Flash. Not on the first tablets. It's going to take a little while after the first tablets come out. But that's interesting.
It will ship with it pre-installed, or this is going to be part? It can't be part of the code base, right?
Let's see.
I'm trying to see if
Adobe it says the version Flash Player 10.2, the version of Flash that will be compatible with upcoming Android tablets, will be ready a few weeks after Android 3 comes out, after which it'll be available for over-the-air installation. So it will not be bundled.
Okay.
I misunderstood. I did think it was going to be bundled. So I guess they didn't do a deal with the Google to do that. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with more. Gina Trapani is here. Jeff Jarvis coming up in just a bit. Our tool, a tip, and number of the week. And we'll answer the question, why did Google ask for kids' social security numbers? Before we do that, I'd like to talk about Squarespace.com, the secret behind exceptional websites. Go to squarespace.com/twig right now. I gave a talk on the cruise, as I mentioned, about social media. And we talked about Twitter and Facebook and how to claim your Facebook username and all that stuff. But I said, look, the most important thing for you to do, the most important place you should exist on the web is your own website. So many people think I have a Facebook page. That's not enough. But the good news is very easy and affordable to create your own website. Go to hover.com, get your name, register your name, then go to squarespace.com/twig. Click that green button. You can try it free for 2 weeks, and you get all the features. You don't have to give them a credit card or anything, just the site name, password, email address, and a little CAPTCHA, and you're in. And you could try all the great features of Squarespace. It's hosting plus the best content management software out there. I don't want to scare you with that CMS term, but what it means is for a blog, for a photo gallery, for a forum even, or just for a site that says, hey, I'm here, this is me, here's my stuff, which at least you got to do. At least, if you have a social media strategy, you got to have a website. I don't care if you're a small business or just an individual. You got to have a website, and there's no easier way to do it than squarespace.com. Go to squarespace.com/twig. Try it free for 2 weeks, and I have a feeling you will love it. The beautiful templates make it easy to make a site that looks totally professional. Social network integration so that your Facebook page and your Twitter and all that. I mean, actually, they do it better than anybody I've ever seen before. They have these very simple plugins. There's the Flickr widget. And you can have thumbnails or pictures. You can have a slideshow. Here's the Twitter widget. And you see, it's just sliders, checkboxes, styles. It's so easy. But, of course, if you know CSS, you could do any RSS feed. If you know CSS, the sky's the limit because all of this can be completely configured to your heart's content. Squarespace.com/twig. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. So I didn't know this. We talked about the Google Doodle contest where kids were encouraged to send in doodles, Google Doodles. But apparently when you fill out the form, when mom or dad fills out the form, because I guess they have to, Google was asking for the last 4 digits of the kid's social. They've taken that off. That was on the parental consent form. They wanted the date of birth, where you were born, they wanted your parents' full details, and it wanted the kid's last 4 digits, even if you're, 6 years old.
They said that they did this because they wanted to make sure there weren't duplicate entries, right? But this actually dovetails really nicely in what we were talking about earlier about creepiness and what you can do when you have data. When you have someone's place of birth and their time of birth, you can make a very good guess at the first 5 digits of their social security number. So if you have the last 4, you could, people were saying, there was a writer at the Huffington Post who made the point that Google could guess these children's full social security number given this information. I have to say, I think they were just making a big deal out of nothing. I think that this is really just about Google wanting to dedupe entries. But at the same time, this is the creepy thing we were talking about. It's like, if Google has this much information about me, what else can they deduce? We know that they're in the business of doing this, so it makes us question whether or not they are, even if, especially when they're a 6- and 7-year-old.
It feels like it's like my first Google. How Sony has my first Walkman? It's like my first Google. It's like, we'll start your data collection now, if you don't mind.
Right.
We're just starting a little dossier on you. Don't mind us. It's not a big deal. The Google spokesperson emphasized the company has never before asked for social security numbers. I think you're right, Gina. This is the typical programmer thing where a programmer goes, "Oh, I know how we could disambiguate. Well, just what would be unique? The last 4 digits of their social."
Right.
But
they didn't think.
They didn't think. And
next, the kid will say, "Get an iris scan."
That's a good way to disambiguate.
By the way, could my little camera here do an iris scan?
I don't know.
I don't know. These Logitech cameras are pretty good.
Does it have to? I think it's probably no different than the cameras that they used for that Clear. Remember Clear? Which is back now, I guess. It went out of business briefly.
Yeah, I signed up for the one. I actually got to use it. It's cool.
The new one?
The new one. No, I'm dead again.
Now you're dark again. I signed up for the old one, and they took an iris scan, although they never used it again. They did a whole bunch of highly intrusive stuff. And I don't know where that database ended up. They just went out of business and said, "Thank you very much. We'll see you. Bye. We got your iris, your fingerprints." They take all 10 fingers. It was really arduous. Did they do the same thing this time around?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. No, you just had to go fill out a form out and do this and that, and then you go through. It was nice. The
thing about, for people who know what we're talking about, this is the idea. In fact, it was an idea by
Steve Brill.
That, I guess he didn't like waiting in security lines, that if you had the Clear card, you have a special, although it really wasn't a special line, at least not in the airports I ever went to. Yeah. It was actually quite embarrassing. You'd go to the Clear booth, which had no line because nobody used it. You'd give them your Clear card, and I can't remember how they'd verify that it's you, but maybe I don't know, something. I don't think they did an iris scan. I don't think they did the fingerprints. They just give them the card. They go, "Oh, hey." And then a lady comes over and gives you a tub. You put all your stuff in the tub, and she goes, she's like an icebreaker. She goes to the head of the line. "Excuse me, out of the way, out of the way. Leo's got to get through. There's kids, there's ladies, there's people, there's pregnant people, there's people in wheelchairs. Out of the way, Leo paid for Clear." And you get to the head. It was the most embarrassing thing. I never use it again. No wonder they went out of business. So it's the same thing now, or do they have special lines?
It's when you're coming through customs at the end. It's not.
Oh, yeah. The customs thing is different. Both U.S. and Canada do this. Yeah, that was even more intrusive. But at least it's the federal government, and you could trust them. Boy, that was dead silence. Russia says Russia says that Google planned the Egyptian revolution. That Google manipulated the energy of the people. The comments during an interview about the investment climate in Russia with the Wall Street Journal with Russian Deputy Prime Minister and Energy Minister Igor Sechin. I guess the problem was the initial question. The reporter for the Journal said, "How can we trust Russia? How can you convince investors to trust Russia?" Sechin said, "Russia's changed radically in the last 25 years, one of the world's most stable political systems." Then the reporter really Sending the knife. He said, well, Mubarak probably said the same thing. Sajin said, look what they have done in Egypt, those highly placed managers of Google. What manipulations of the energy of the people took place there. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, and the hilarious thing is that puts Russia and Putin's spokesman squarely in the same camp as Glenn Beck.
What? Glenn Beck said that?
Glenn Beck's been saying, I don't want Google involved in my world affairs. I don't want Google involved in this and that.
Oh,
it's the weirdest thing. Not that I listen to Glenn Beck very often. I try not to. But, he's being wacky about this. And so basically he doesn't want to see any good news out of Egypt because these anti-Muslim marauding Arabs are going to come to your backyard next.
Jeez Louise.
So It's really strange, the reaction to this.
So this all comes from the fact that it was a Google executive. What was his?
Ghonim.
Walid Ghonim.
Yeah.
Who created the Facebook page that was widely credited with being the beginning of the revolution.
Who took a leave of absence, who sort of didn't lie, but or took a leave of absence at first, didn't let Google know that what he was doing. And then when it was all over, tweeted, I hope that Google will have me back. And actually, Google tweeted back to him sort of publicly and said that they were very proud and they'd have him back.
No kidding.
Guy's a hero, but it had nothing to do. Well,
I talked to Karen Wickery, who actually sent that tweet, and on behalf of the company, she typed it out. But it was they saw that immediately and said, "We'll have you back, and we're very proud of you."
Good.
It was a very important statement from Google.
Yeah, and he did say in a 60 Minutes interview that Google put some pressure to get him out. So Google was involved in getting him out, but
out of the country,
out of
jail. That's right.
Jail.
He was in jail.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting because you have companies like Google and Facebook want to help, but want to not get too close because then it's another reason not to have you in China and so on.
Right.
And Facebook, CNET did a story this week that there are those who said that because Ghonim's page on Facebook, because he was pseudonymous. They originally killed the page because he wasn't using his real name. And the argument is, well, no, he couldn't. But the argument back is, well, that's what Facebook is. And so there are those who are trying to argue that Facebook should enable pseudonyms and false identities, but I'm not so sure. I think that's Facebook. Should you tell Foursquare, that'd be like saying to Foursquare that you should set up so that I can lie wherever I am.
Yeah. No, that's not what it is.
It's an interesting issue. Yeah.
No, that's not what it is. And look, Facebook played a role, and they didn't need an anonymity. And Ghonim was very brave, and I think that's part of the reason that he was trusted by the people in Tahrir Square. I mean, this guy paid his dues.
And it was
interesting
public. Too, when he got out of jail, the rumor had spread that he was out. People said, "I'm not believing it till I see it on Twitter," because that's from him. Also,
right, because he had gone dark, right? His Twitter had gone dark there for a while.
So you knew that was him. The night that Mubarak didn't leave, Ghonim said on Twitter, I'm not going to talk to the press tomorrow. I'm going to talk to my people through my Facebook page. And then the great moment, when he said that he wanted to, on CNN, that I want to meet Mark Zuckerberg, which I'm sure he will now, to thank him.
Wow.
Meanwhile, we have this whole, I think, rather silly argument going on about the triumphalists versus the curmudgeons, where to some extent Yevgeny Morozov and a few others were saying that, well, especially Malcolm Gladwell, that this is not the Twitter revolution. Facebook revolutions happened before them.
Boy, did Malcolm get it wrong.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy. I mean, this is. I mean, you couldn't have a more right on the heels of Malcolm Gladwell's New Yorker article saying Twitter just promotes the status quo. It's not used for revolutions. And then this happens.
There's a great cartoon of Malcolm Gladwell hits his tipping point.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing against the guy. I love his stuff, and I've read his books, and he's a great speaker.
The hair is ridiculous.
The hair's a little silly, but he got it wrong, and that's the point. And the naysayers who said this Facebook, Twitter stuff, it's just trivia. I think have to now kind of say, look, the internet is changing the world.
There's a plate of crow bones ready for him. Yeah.
The internet, digital technology is changing the world, not always for the good, but in general for the good, because I think the free flow of information ultimately benefits everyone. It promotes.
The problem is that they keep on trying to shoot at a made-up red herring. They keep on saying, the triumphalists say that Twitter causes revolution. Find me the person who says that. I know no one who says that. Right. Everyone I know says this is a revolution.
It's a tool. It's a people revolution.
Use tools to their advantage. Right. The people who did the revolution said these tools were valuable to us.
You still have to fill the square. And in some places, like Libya, you still have to throw your body in front of a tank. Twitter won't do that for you, but it sure is a tool. And I have to think that, I mean, the fact that Egypt cut off the internet, that Libya is now cutting off the internet, tells you something. That this is a tool for democratization. Yes. We said that TV would be that. And I think in some ways it was. It certainly showed people another part of the world. But the internet is so unmediated. I think in the long run it's a better tool for that kind of democratization.
And interactive. You have to have an entire community of people ready for change. You know, it has to be. The community has to be ready, and then the tools will work.
That's just pretty darn exciting.
Well, you know, there's another way to go. This is going to go way. What the hell? This is side road day on Twig. I interviewed Elizabeth Eisenstein, who wrote the definitive book on Gutenberg. In fact, I'm reading her next book. Give her a plug right now. About Gutenberg and presses, Divine Art and Fertile Machine.
I think the Gutenberg press is a very good analog of what's happening today.
I believe that. Now, Morozov yelled at me and made fun of me for it, but F him.
Well, look.
You know, she said, and I have to be careful because I didn't quiz her enough on this, but she said that the Gutenberg Revolution, to some extent, skipped Arabia. Printing in some quarters was forbidden for 3 centuries. The same, and Siva Vadnafi got mad at me for that it was too simplistic. And she's not saying, very carefully, that Arabia was in the Middle Ages. She's just saying that the impact was different. And in a sense, what's happening now, because they stayed in some measure in oral tradition, the impact of printing wasn't the same. And now their Gutenberg press is Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
And that when people are empowered to speak, look at the amazing things that happen. It happened with the Reformation. It's happening again with tools that enable the public to be public, which is a plug for my book, but what the hell?
Well, this is the subject. It really is.
It's a great time.
Yeah. Public
parts.
parts.
It's what Gina said before about being a great time to be alive for Watson. It's a great time to see not only machines empowered, but people empowered.
I feel very fortunate that early in my career as a journalist, I said, I think I want to cover technology. Boy, that was a hell of a beat.
Yeah, for me, it was like, this web thing is kind of interesting.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
I'm really glad I said not that.
I mean, damn. I can't claim any prescience, but boy, I feel lucky. We have ringside seats, and everyone who watches Twitter has ringside seats to a world that is changing so rapidly. I can't wait to talk to Ray Kurzweil in a couple of weeks.
Oh, great.
It's going to be great. Time for our tool, tip, and number of the week. Let's start with Gina Trapani and her tip of the week.
Sure. My tip this week is actually a little bit of a tool. Or all of us, or at least I'm going to start putting together my our income tax return soon, which is always a thrill. Yes. But there's a really cool data visualization that shows you where your tax dollars go. So you go to datavizchallenge.org. And click on See an Example. You can enter in the year and how much you paid in taxes, and then where that money went, in a really neat interactive visualization that lets you zoom around and see exactly where your money's going. And this data comes from whatwepayfor.com. Which was a data visualization not that didn't have anything to do with Google. Google was so impressed with it, though, they started this data viz challenge that said, hey, let's look at let's look at different ways that we can get insights into where your tax dollars go. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you have the data, what are the interesting ways that you can look at it and insights you can get into it. So yeah, Leo, you've got it up on the screen there. Like you can say in 2010, if you paid $10,000 of federal income tax, you can see that $2,500 went to national defense. $2,300 income security, $2,500 to Social Security, and it breaks it down into a really cool interactive graph. So
look at the size of the interest. That thing is floating away. Holy cow! That is really a great.
It really is. I mean, if you want to have a discussion about the economy and where we're headed in spending, this is the kind of data and making data available to people that matters.
Yeah,
absolutely. I thought this is really, really cool. And that datavizchallenge.org, they're asking for more different and interesting ways to look at these numbers, to break these numbers down. So
you can put in the numbers yourself and come up with a new visualization for it. That's neat.
Right. Yeah, on this visit you can change the year and your filing status and your income, but they're actually looking for different ways to visualize. So this is kind of a bunch of, sort of vibrating bubbles.
Right.
But they're looking for kind of other ways that you could look at tax data like this.
Right. Here's one from Slate. Click the green play button. Animation of the data. This is neat. Data visualizations are fascinating. This is unemployment statistics, by the way.
I want to learn it so I can teach journalists. It's so important.
Oh, it really is.
It's so important. I just went to the Edward Tufte's one-day course.
You
and
did?
I did. It was amazing. He was here in San Diego.
Yeah, he was up here, and I missed it.
Completely worth it. Really worth it. Yeah, great, really good day of thinking through a whole lot. And you get his books with it. Get all of his books.
So what is it a hands-on or a possibilities session? Or
it's a possibility session. So he's a really good speaker. It's a one-day deal. You get all of his books, and he basically shows you examples of good visualizations. What are the characteristics of a good visualization? But very engaging. I mean, it's definitely not. It doesn't feel like a lecture. You're reading and looking and seeing examples throughout. And I mean, all day I was just writing, pages and pages of notes of ideas that I had for ThinkUp and other apps. But it really it makes you really zero in on what makes a good visualization and how important visualizations are and how important it is to be truthful and honest in them and how important it is to show data in the right way to tell the whole story. So yeah, I highly recommend the class.
This I've always loved this poster. My dad has this on his wall. Napoleon's march.
Yes.
To Moscow in the War of 1812.
Yeah, the best data viz ever made in the history of data visualization.
Yeah, that's so
amazing,
cool.
Amazing image. Yeah, we looked at that one actually for quite a long time.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Oh,
when it comes
yeah.
back. He travels
he comes every year. He comes to the big cities every year. He travels a lot. And his work is what the visual display of quantitative information, something like that.
Yeah, that's one of his books. He's got a few books out.
Wow, I'm jealous. I've always wanted to see him. Your number of the week, Mr. Jarvis.
I think I'll do this one. 304,899, which after 2 weeks is how many followers Howard Stern has.
How many? 304,000?
Yeah, it ramped up pretty quickly. The reason I mention it is because he
Twitter for a long time.
He made fun of Twitter. He wouldn't do Twitter. I went on the air trying to convince him to do Twitter. Why would I do that? Why would I give it away? And suddenly, before he went on Letterman, he decided to do it that night. And then he's been on. And Stern being Stern, I love what he did next, is that he was sitting at home, Private Parts, his movie was coming on. That's not a plug for the book. And next thing you know, he was giving the alternative soundtrack, the explanation track, the DVD extra reel to it as it was going on using Twitter. And it's really cool because you can basically go watch the movie and kind of play that back. And it was a neat new use of Twitter that I quite like.
That's neat.
I took to it quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really kind of cool. But while I'm on the numbers subject, I don't know if I plugged him last week, but I want to mention to everybody, all of our friends at Twig, if you haven't started following or looking at Andy Carvin, ACARVIN.
I follow him. Yeah, he's great.
He is magnificent. He's an NPR social media strategist who has been tweeting the revolutions and adds real journalistic value, finding the good people, pointing out what's not confirmed yet, asking questions. He has about 27,000 followers, and I'm kind of amazed.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is. And now the problem is that
ACARVIN.
Yeah, he will take over your feed in the midst of something going on. So some people are making a list that is nothing but him.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
But he is
Carvin list.
He is quite amazing, and I really recommend because I think that he's creating a new sense of what journalism and news are in a world of live feeds. So, Carvin. Try
and curation. He's the kind of the epitome of a curation feed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I started following him after you mentioned him last week, Jeff, and I feel way more informed. He really is doing some good stuff.
Yeah. I think I got his name from Jay Rosen. Remember when Jay published that list of journalists to follow on Twitter, and I think Andy was one of them. Yeah. You know, I taught Regis how to tweet. Not exactly momentous. But it was very interesting to watch somebody who's been 60 years in show business suddenly have an epiphany. This aired just as I was leaving, so I hadn't really had a chance to talk about it till now. But we went up to his. I have a little clip of it I can show you. We went up to his office, and I sat down next to him at the computer.
Somebody, you give them a message and they tweet.
Have you ever
back.
sent a text message?
Never.
Okay. So it's kind of like that, except instead of going just to one person, when you tweet, it goes to everybody who's following you. You got a lot of followers. You've got hundreds of thousands of people who watch your Twitter account.
Is that right?
So if you type something on Twitter, all of those people will see it.
Well, who's been talking to these people?
I think Kelly.
Kelly. Well, all right.
Kelly tweets a lot.
I want to be a part of
So you're on, this is the webpage, the Twitter
So I
webpage.
showed him, and you know what was interesting? This was the day that he announced that he was leaving the show. And so he tweeted, actually, his first tweet was quite good. It made a joke, and he said, I just announced that I'm leaving the show, and David Letterman called and said, congratulations. What the hell does that mean? And
what the hell does that mean?
What the hell, Leo, what does that mean? And but there was this moving moment. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen the video. There was a moving moment where I said, now if you click mentions, these are people talking back to you. And he saw all these hundreds and hundreds of. He says, is this happening right now? I said, yeah. Click it again, and there was more. He called his wife. He said, Joy, you got to go to Twitter. They're talking. He'd never had this kind of direct connection to the audience, and it was actually it was very interesting to watch this very savvy guy, but he's been 60 years in broadcasting, getting this experience. By the way, the guy can't type for...
No, not worth it.
Like they sped it up. You can
They
tell
sped it up a lot. This is an hour's worth of typing. And then I said, watch this. I said, now click tweet.
A little joke, a little light, a little levity. Because you're using the Regis and Kelly account, Regis _ Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly also tweets in this account.
that's why I said our show.
Right. So I would put a space and then a -R so they know that this came from you.
Oh, okay.
Now this is the chance you have before you press that button that says tweet. Just review it, make sure that you want the
I
world
announced
to see
my leaving our show today. David Letterman just called. He said, congratulations. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think that's a perfect tweet.
Yeah, I do too.
Now click the tweet button.
Watch this.
Where is that tweet button?
It's on the screen there. So if you just move the mouse there and you press the mouse.
Watch. He picks up the mouse. He's trying to click the screen. This guy, I'm sure he's never used a computer. Nevertheless, that's the comedy. But the thing that I thought was really moving is just this impact. This sudden light goes on in his head. Oh my God! I'm talking to my people.
That's so great.
It was really a neat moment. But that is not my my tool of the week, and I'll do this very quickly because we want to make room for TNT, which is coming up next. But as you know, there was a terrible earthquake in New Zealand. Many of our listeners are down there. We wish you all the best in Christchurch. And here is, Google's done this time and time again. They did it in Haiti, and they've done it again. The Person Finder. If you're looking for someone, they're tracking about 9,400 records. You can enter that person's name. If you know where someone is, this is an internet. This is a 21st century bulletin board, but it's amazingly effective and it's very powerful. You can embed the tool on your site, and I think Google deserves credit for doing this. This is AppSpot, Christchurch-2011.person-finder.appspot.com, and I think it was done by Google, right? I believe it was done by Google.
I think it was.
Yeah.
At this point, they probably just have this app. You just roll out whenever there's a disaster,
boom, boom,
right?
boom.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't know if I talked about this in the show before, but the head of privacy consumer protection in Germany said that using geographic location and face recognition is taboo. It's forever bad. But imagine how you could use it in an earthquake to say, "Oh, so and so was spotted. We know who's there." It's incredible what technology could do in those cases to put people back together.
Yeah, really, really amazing. Jeff Jarvis, the author of What Would Google Do? Leo, what would Google do? It is available. He's got a nice hat from Canada. It's available now in bookstores.
Silly rabbit.
Yeah, you do look a little Elmer Fuddish.
You do. An Elmer Fudd. That's it.
He's also at buzzmachine.com. Great to talk to you once again. I missed you guys. Gina Trapani
we
at
missed you.
smarterware.org. Always a pleasure. We'll see you next week. We do this show every Wednesday. Now, we're going to be following the Big Apple iPad announcement next week, so we'll have some stuff to talk about, I'm sure. We are doing live coverage of that starting at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time at live.twit.tv March 2nd. And then right after that this week in Google, you can watch live. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.